Started right. Marvelous morning, fantastic afternoon, and wonderful and amazing evening for wherever you are in the world. We are no longer saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are looking at the superb words that will describe your morning, because MindPlore is about making your life better and making it full and complete. And having said that, I want to tell you that the topic is making your dreams appear in 2022. And I may have said that wrong, but that's the basic topic. And your dreams can be anything. We don't believe that our dreams mean anything, but it's our dreams that are coming from our inner soul, and that inner soul wants to be alive and well and showing in the world. And it's time to begin doing that. It's time to make them real. Having said that, I have actually all of these people you have met at one time or another. And we'll start with, Jeanne, because she's been here every day for the show. You've met Dr. Michele. Got to remind myself to call her Dr. Michele from now on, who has been on the show several times, but not for a while. And today I was lucky enough to be able to get her. Alex Moura, who has been a big contributor to the English show for many years, I think about 2, maybe 3 years, and he kind of disappeared, but he's sort of appearing again. And of course, Pastor Billy, you have met him many, many times. And with that, Jeanne, you know what I need to do to get this show on the road. I'm going to let you take it over so I can get the information you guys need.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carla, and happy morning to everybody. Happy afternoon and happy evening. With our theme about making dreams come true, I found a couple of good quotes. First, from a noted American film critic from the past, Pauline Kael. She writes, "Where there is a will, there is a way. If there's a chance in a million that you can do something, anything to keep what you want from ending, do it. Pry the door open, or if need be, wedge your foot in that door and keep it open." Which means once we decide what we want, we need to work for it and do the work, as some people say. A gold medalist, an Olympic gold medalist, Michael Phelps, writes, "There will be obstacles. There will be doubters. There will be mistakes. But with hard work, there are no limits." So when we set our sights, we can reach our goal. He's a multiple gold medalist, so he knows what he's talking about. And then the final two quotes are from the Roosevelts. From Eleanor Roosevelt, she writes, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." So with all the hard work that we want to do, we need to have a goal or a dream. And I like that. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So with all the hard, and Theodore Roosevelt, who predated Eleanor, wrote, "Keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground." And I love that because that helps us stay grounded, but dream big, but keep yourself grounded. So we start off with understanding that it's work and that you do whatever you can to keep the door open, but keeping the vision going is important as well. Dr. Michele, you're great at helping us set goals. How do you see this?
Well, it depends on the person. There are some people in which it's no problem having goals and dreams. Their problem is maybe getting specific or setting actions. But then there are actually people that have a difficult time even knowing what their dreams are. And Carla and I were joking back and forth about being people pleasers. And sometimes people pleasers actually have a hard time knowing what it is they want because they've been so focused on what other people want that they have no idea what they want. So I have I don't want to get too long-winded, 2 quick exercises you can do to help you get an idea of what it is that you want to bring into being in this year. The first one is to think of your past year, last year, 2021, that challenging year, and ask yourself, what were the main events that you remember? And then write them down and go through and put an asterisk next to each one that gave you pleasure or happiness. 2 asterisks if it was especially pleasurable. This is what you want to bring in again into your life this year. The other thing is to go through and identify all the things that were difficult, that made you angry or afraid or sad or fearful, and put an exclamation point next to those. And those are the things that you want to flip. So if you feel like, oh my gosh, you work so hard, maybe you want to bring more ease into your life. So that would be the way in which you would flip, is say, okay, this isn't what I want. So what is it that I do want? And that helps you to create your intentions for the new year. Back to you, Jeanne.
Those are great exercises. I think we should all practice a little bit of that. I like the idea of identifying what you really like versus, because I think what we remember tends to be the things that give us a hard time. But the idea of flipping is beautiful. Thank you. Alex, with the global vision, because we're all from America here, and you're our international guest, and you're obviously one of our younger guests because your hair is not gray yet, and you have a different perspective, I'm sure. What makes you dream and set your dreams? What is it that you would share with folks?
All right. So hi, everybody. She said, I'm not from the United States. I come from Brazil. We may have a different perspective about dreams, but we all want to live a better life. We all want to have quality of life. And one thing that I've embraced a lot in the past 2 years, because of myself and also because of Carla's encouragement, is that we've got to be confident in ourselves. We've got to embrace adversity in order to achieve anything that we want in life. And I like to follow what my friend, Don Cheater, a mindfulness Kurt says. Don't let the world that surrounds you make you believe you can't achieve your dreams. Write about those dreams every day if you can, with as many details as possible. And before going to bed, close your eyes and visualize what your life will be like once your dreams become real. So without dreams, it's a car without gas. It's a car without oil, right? So you cannot drive a car without that. That's the same with us. Without this energy within us, without this energy that makes us alive each day, makes us wake up each day, that's what matters in life. Thank you.
That's great. I love the picture in my head of a car without gas. It goes nowhere. And you can have dreams, but if you don't do something, that's all they are. I can't think of who said it right off, but it's I can't think of what it is. It's like a strategy with no plan is just a dream, or something like that. How you change your dreams to actions, the steps you take to start something off. That's oftentimes the critical piece in how we plan our daily lives, I think. Pastor Billy, you're shaking your head.
Yeah. I love Alex's illustration. I know probably the time I get most anxious is when the needle in my gas gauge hits E, And then I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I'm looking for a place to get gas and I'm praying to God, please don't let me run out of gas. So Alex, thank you for that. That's beautiful. And that's exactly what we're talking about, right? Is that, you know, dreaming. I love to dream. Now there's two types of dreaming, and I'll be brief on this because brevity is next to godliness. But there's dreams that we have when we're sleeping and we wake up and we're like, what? Did I really dream that? And then you might call the person and say, hey, I had a dream about you last night. And then they'll probably hang up on you. But anyway, but so there's that kind of dreaming where we get these revelations, if I could use that word, in the middle of our sleep. But then there's another type of dreaming, which I think what Dr. and Alex were talking about, is that you're just sitting down, you're wide awake, and you're thinking wild goals, objectives, plans, strategies. And I love to do that because I'm as to use a hood term, since I'm a hood pastor, I'm jonesing for dreams, and I love to dream dreams. And, you know, there's a great verse in the Hebrew Bible that says that people will dream dreams and see visions. And so I'm all about, okay, what's next? What's next in my life? So I want to encourage all of our viewers and listeners, dream big, okay? Don't dream small dreams. Don't have little objectives because, and here's a quote for you, Jeanne, if you shoot for the stars, you're going to reach the moon, right? I think that was Louis Armstrong, but, or it might've been Yogi Berra. You know, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Or, you know, in his wisdom, he said, if you don't go to other people's funerals, they won't come to yours. So Yogi Berra is one of my famous philosophers, but I want to encourage everybody on this call to dream big. I mean, I leave for Iraq this Thursday. How did I get to Iraq? Because I was dreaming big about helping people. And then God began to open up doors and windows of opportunity. And because I dream big, I'm silly enough to crawl through those open windows and open doors. So dream big, my friends, dream big.
I think that that's really good advice, Pastor Billy, because as much as we say we have dreams, I think we put a cap on them and try to what's the word I want to think of? We try to have achievable dreams, which means we're only allowing ourselves a small vision. Yeah. And I know that in the corporate world, they always talk to us about SMART goals being, you know, something that was measurable and achievable. And having SMART goals is a smart thing to do, but you have to have something to leap for. And that's where the big dream comes in. So there is a question I often ask when I'm sitting with people and I'm, you know, coaching them and I'm trying to find out what they want to do. And I say, if money wasn't an issue, if there was no issue about resources, what would you be doing? Because oftentimes we monitor our own thinking by what we see. And I like to remind people that, you know, how do you make God laugh? You tell him your plans, because he knows that you have this much of a vision and he has this much of a vision. So we don't even know how great we are, is my point. We dream with what we think we can achieve, and we forget to dream what we can achieve. And I say that out loud because I'm reminding myself, I do this and I'm not even aware of it. Sometimes I say, I'm going to do something. Michele, you've seen this happen a lot, where I say, I'm going to do something. And then we're like, wait a minute, what can we get? What can we be successful at? And that's how we govern our mind. And at this beginning of a new year, we need to take those, what I would call horse blinders, take them off so we could see the bigger picture. Would you agree, Michele?
Well, I want to present a different perspective, which is that sometimes, especially at the beginning of the year, you get a lot of these rah, rah, rah people who say, dream big, do this, work hard. And it can scare people. They're like, oh, this feels like overwhelming. And then they don't do anything. And what I would suggest is that you go for what feels great to you, that you would do it if you weren't even getting paid, because the action itself is uplifting. The action and makes you feel great. And isn't that what we want? Don't we want to have a good, great human adventure? Is to have a good time, not necessarily to build a Taj Mahal unless that's what you want to do, that what is right for you may not be right for somebody else, and to listen to your heart and what feels good for you, what works for you. And also remember that, what is it, 1,000-mile journey starts with a single step. To just have an idea and a vision, but to take it step by step. Otherwise, you can get stuck in never moving forward because it's too big and it feels overwhelming.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. That's I think that's part of what meters us is fear. And I like to remind myself, as well as others I'm talking about, that oftentimes fear is false evidence appearing real. So sometimes we allow ourselves to not dream big because we think we can't do it, but when we do dream big and then we say, how do I get there? That's when we go, and yet sometimes it's just taking a step. I was explaining to somebody on the learning show, the Learning English by Speaking English show yesterday, about what the effects are when you throw a pebble into a pond, how the ripples go out further and further and further. So we may make a change that seems pretty small and achievable, but can ripple out and make other changes that brings more back to us. But we have no control over that. We have to just take, in faith, take that first step, throw that first pebble in, and then things start to change. And that's the part that we forget. I say we in the royal sense, because I know I forget.
Jeanne, can I just mention about the fear?
Did you just see her hold up the camera or the
yes
thing to me? I love it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say something about the fear, because fear is a real physiological experience in the body, and it can really keep you frozen. And there are strategies for getting over fear. And I'm going to say simply, you want to go into the fear, become curious, instead of trying to repress it or pretend it's not there. So because that's part of the thing that holds us back is fear. Yeah. Thank you, Jeanne.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Facing it is clearly important. Alex, your hand is up.
All right. Okay. Okay. Well, I want to share something which is about dreams. And one thing that I keep in mind all the time whenever I think of something new, I always remember my values, because it doesn't matter if you are in 2010, in 2050, in 2033, it doesn't matter the year. You always have to look at your values, what you're passionate about, what you like to do, who you are, because you don't want to dream about something that you don't want to become or you don't want to do, right? So whenever you think about a dream, I want to become this and that. I want to have this and that. I want to do this and that. Look at your values. Is these aligned with your values, with your true self, with who you are? And another thing that is really essential about this is when you are working to achieve your dreams, keep your posture straight. Imagine that you are the Spider-Man or the Superwoman and stuff like that, the Avengers. I have this book that it talks about our presence. So whenever you feel like you are not worth it, that you cannot achieve your dreams. Just look up straight, and be who you are. Don't be afraid.
And what you just said, Alex, is very important. You don't need to be afraid. And Alex, you do not need to be muted. You can enter the conversation whenever you want. I know you have a lot of old people here, but that doesn't matter. Your dreams are what guide you through life. And if it makes you happy to think you can do something, like it made me happy to think I could do MindPlore and I can do the English show, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And because it made me happy, I pursued it. I pursued the English show for over 4 years, and I will continue doing it. I have done MindPlore for over 2 years now. I do it because it makes me happy. I don't do it because someone told me, Carla, you got to be there for the English show. Oh, Carla, please don't forget MindPlore. I do it because it makes me fly and it makes me do what I need to do in the world. And that's when you're listening to your inner soul. You're not listening when mom says, oh, go and do the English show now, it's time. If someone needs to tell you to do it, it is not your thing. And I just want to remind everyone, please share this out with your friends and family. People are just beginning to know that we're doing MindPlore and all my shows on YouTube. And the only way they're going to know with Facebook acting like they are is if you guys help me by doing that. Pastor Billy,
Yeah.
you look very pensive right now. What's going on in your mind?
Yeah, I have appreciated everything that people are saying about dreaming. And one word that came to me, Carla, when you were, and Alex and others were saying, is faithfulness. Faithfulness. If we want to achieve our dreams, then we have to be faithful. We have to, as Dr. Michele said earlier, one step at a time, one step at a time. People say, how do you eat an elephant? Not that you'd want to, but you have to eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so we need to be faithful to, once we have that dream, to complete it. If it takes a couple of simple steps, those initial baby steps, then let's take those baby steps. And there's a great movie out there called What About Bob? And it's a funny comedy. And, the prescription that the doctor gave to Bob was take baby steps. And he would take baby steps. And so we have to be faithful to those dreams that we get and that we think about. The other item, and Jeanne, you were talking about this, most of the time that I have a dream, it seems absolutely crazy, unachievable. And yet the more we think about it, the more we ruminate it around in our heart, in our mind, in our life, and I bounce a lot of things off other people, accountability. But when we have that initial thought, you're thinking to yourself, I could never do that. But yet we can do that, right? So when we have that initial thought, that dream, that goal, that objective, that plan, that strategy, continue to be faithful to it, even though it may sound very crazy at the initial thought of that dream, and just continue to pursue that dream, bouncing it off other people, bouncing it off yourself, as I do in prayer, bounce it off God, and you're going to achieve that goal. You're going to achieve that dream. So back to you, Jeanne.
Well, before going back to Jeanne, I want to ask you, Pastor Billy, what is your dream for 2022?
My dream is to continue the work that I do in 17 countries and to have a greater impact in the lives of widows, orphans, the poor, the neglected, and the forgotten. So a bigger impact, which is why I'm leaving for Iraq this Thursday. And I have not allowed the pandemic to deter me from the work that I'm doing. And I want to have a greater impact in the 17 war zones that I'm working in, to assist people, to encourage people, and to help them dream about what, there's 62 million people displaced, either internally or externally in the world. So I want to have a greater impact in their lives and to help them dream their dreams of achieving the things that they're going to achieve. So that would be my goal for 2022. Thanks for asking, Carla.
Michele, Dr. Michele, I have to get used to that. What is your dream?
My dream for this year is to continue to reach out to people pleasers like myself, to help them to get over their fears so that they can step into their full authentic power. Very often people pleasers end up being something that they are not, because they're trying to do everything everybody tells them to do. And so it's learning to listen to your own voice, just like you said, Carla, to listen to your heart. And the other thing I'm doing in my life this year is trying to integrate spirit much more with my work so that things flow with greater ease.
And
I had this idea in my head from childhood that everything has to come by working hard. And I am shifting that particular mindset.
Can I say something to that?
Sure.
We all have lived a life where we were told, you gotta work hard, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And we forgot to look within and find out who we are instead of what everyone else says. I have people who come to the English show and say, well, I'm in med school now, and I'm like, but I don't like it. And I ask, why are you there? Well, my dad and mom told me they wanted me to be a doctor, but I wanted to be an artist. And I said, usually ask the question, if you want to be an artist and that is what draws you, have you ever spoken to your parents about it? You're spending a lot of money to go to med school, but you're forgetting who you are. And of course, I hear from parents.
yeah, they're like, "What are you telling my child?" Right. I totally agree with what you're saying, and that idea of hard is only when you're doing either something that is kind of stretching you and it creates fear, and there's a way to adjust to that. And the other thing is when you're doing stuff that you love, I can work, like an oxen, because that I have plenty of energy. It's just that it feels light and feels uplifting when I'm doing stuff that I love to do.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I know that Jeanne gets very frustrated with me when she sees I'm on WhatsApp at 3:00 in the morning, my time. And we'll make comments. And I'm like, but I slept around it. Believe me, I got some sleep or I wouldn't be here. But it's because I love what I'm doing. And by the time she's saying it, I am ready. I'm about to drop off anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I get messages from you. What are you doing on WhatsApp now? Now, Alex, you are changing your whole world right now. You went from living at home to living in an apartment in a city far away. And you even moved out of a family's residence. How is this your dream, or what's going on with you? Your beginnings.
Well,
I don't pay attention to you. I do.
Okay, all right. Well, as you guys were talking about, sometimes our parents, they are rulers. They want to rule over our lives. And most of the parents are going to talk about their children, are going to say, hey, you've got to be a doctor, you've got to be a lawyer because you can make more money with those professions. But I'm here. I'm I came to a new city because I want to be a teacher. And I'm studying at university languages, Portuguese and English. And many people say that, why are you doing that? You cannot make a lot of money with that. You know, there is a teacher that is my inspiration in Brazil. His name is Carlos Wizard. And and then he was a teacher, and he is still a teacher. He's still a teacher, and he makes a lot of money. So it doesn't matter. When you do what you love, everything will work out. You know, it's always nice to remember, don't ever dream about money or possessions because they will take care of themselves, you know? So that's my dream. That's why I'm here. And also because I want to be more, as the caller said, responsible. I want to be more, because I have to take care of my finances. I have to take care of my card, how I'm going to spend and stuff like that. So that's why I live alone, and I want to have more, space. I want to decide things. So yes.
Alex, that's wonderful. And I'm so happy to see you. Okay, Jeanne, what's your dream?
That's always a good one. Right now, I've been focusing on stepping out to help. I want to help more people be the author of their life. In other words, as Dr. Michele was talking about, helping change, helping folks change, including myself, to understand what we've been told versus what we need to tell ourselves. A lot of us have stories that came from parents, as Alex talked about. I had parents who were controllers, and I love them dearly. They did great things for me. However, I have to change, and I learned raising my son how to parent differently as he became a teenager, and letting him have consequences of his decisions versus me telling him everything and being controlling. And I want to expand that learning because we have more power in the moments that we sit and contemplate. We have more power and for changing our lives, for taking the steps that we need to do. And that means I need to step out and not be afraid to share this knowledge. And that's my dream, is to let go of that fear. As Dr. Michele talked about earlier, sometimes it's the fear that keeps us from moving forward, but I need to step into it. And my dream is to step into it and to step through it, and let the world hear my voice. And Dr. Michele was there when I started finding my voice 5 years ago. And it's been an awesome journey, but now I want to add some direction to the journey. That's my dream.
Thank you. Has anybody thought of asking Carla what her dream is?
That's a good point.
But I thought I
There we
said
go.
it
Come
earlier.
on, Carla.
I actually answered that a little earlier when I said my dream is I'm going to be a little mercenary and put in a little advertisement for Patreon. My dream is to get myself out of the debt that I have and to feel comfortable being able to get to the end of the month and have a decent meal without struggling for money. That's my first step. And after that,
Wow.
just having enough money to be comfortable. And that has been an issue. And I want to do it using those things that I love. I love doing MindPlore. I mean, this gets me going in the morning. That's why we do it when we do it. And it's a little late, but as you know, if I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm on WhatsApp, I need to get some sleep at some point. And number two, more importantly, I want to feel good about myself and change my mindset so it's more positive than it is right now. It's going in that direction, and I want to see it keep on growing. So
Thank you.
I hope my dreams don't seem very lofty, but they really are. Because in order for this to happen, I need to be talking to a lot of people in English on the shows. I need people to begin subscribing to Patreon Giggle Lady. And I need you guys to enjoy the MindPlore. I want MindPlore to be something that people want to watch on a regular basis, and they're excited to see it, whether it's on replay or live. And guys, get over to that YouTube channel, please. We want you there. Is that a good enough answer?
That's
Yes.
a wonderful answer. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
Carla, I was just thinking of a very, very lofty goal. How would you like to have as your dream to be enlightened? I was reading this book, Power versus Force. That is the dream, isn't it? To be enlightened.
But you know what? We are already enlightened. We are. The reason that we don't know it is we're so filled with the stress.
So then what is the dream?
Sri Ravi Shankar says we are already there. There is no reason for us to think we're not there. The only reason we think we're not there is that we're stuck looking outside instead of looking inside. And that is what this show is about today. It's about looking inside and bringing that inside into reality. Jeanne, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, this is one of those moments I wished I had grabbed something and shared it, because we share so much stuff. But I had read recently, it was a mindfulness person, I don't remember who it was, wrote that we spend our time focused on our doubts, not on our dreams. And I would love to see us switch that, just as flip it, if you will. And we spend our times focused on our dreams, not our doubts. And it's those doubts that what's been coming to mind for me is those doubts are some of those things that we grew up with. We were told things like, well, hopefully Alex didn't hear this because we've changed a lot. But when I was a child, I would hear children are to be seen and not heard. And little tropes like that were normal. What we didn't hear was that when you're riding a horse, you can rein a horse in, keep it under control, or you can give it free rein. We were never given the moment as children. I should say not we, but given the moment to have free rein and to understand we have responsibility to manage that ourselves. And that's one of the things, like I said, I learned raising my son about consequences. You make a decision, there's rewards and there's consequences, and you have to balance them. But when I grew up, not only from my parents, but from my church and from schools, I was kept in a box, if you will. And I got used to being in this box and not allowed to be who I was. As a child, I was a much more energetic, free thinker, if you will. In other words, I would be diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder if I were in school today. And they tried to teach me how to be socialized, to be appropriate, if you will. And it was in a time when little girls were meant to be quiet, and that wasn't in my makeup. As an adult, I want to reclaim that energy, because when I think about things I did when I was younger and I didn't know what I shouldn't be doing, they were beautiful. They were great. I actually did some big stuff before I understood what it meant. And now that I have all this knowledge, I keep myself from stepping out. Well, one of the things that I've been learning through many different modalities is when I hear those voices and I can equate it to something that happened as a child, I try to look at it as if I were a child and then as I am an adult, so that I can add some perspective. And that is not easy to do. That brings up this thing that we haven't talked about: emotions that we hold on to from forever, and we don't even recognize them anymore. And I feel it in my belly when I'm holding on to something. And now I'm learning to listen to that, to say, okay, what is it? What is it? And one of my goals is to free myself of some of that emotion that I'd never really processed, so that I can clear it and be more of that vessel for spirit, as Dr. Michele had mentioned. Because when you're in that flow, when you're allowing your creativity to go, that's pure happiness. I call it magic time, and I want to have more magic time. For me, magic time is when you're doing something and you're so happy doing it that you don't know if it's 2 minutes or 2 hours. I did a painting once years ago, and it took 6 hours, but I started it at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm going to call this pulling a Carla, because it was 3 o'clock in the morning when I finished. And I remember thinking, but I'm not tired. I was so into it that, and that's when I called it magic time, because it was like time just kept expanding and I didn't worry about it. Whatever I needed, it was there. And that lesson, that's one of my dreams, is to get to that point where we all feel that way, that we can do whatever we need to do and it feels good and it's filled with this magic time.
Yeah, we to use a basketball illustration, that's what we talk about, being in the paint, being in the zone. And that's what we love to do, and the people that we love to spend time with. And oftentimes, speaking of people, if I could bounce off, Gina, what you said, we have to be careful sometimes, because I talked about accountability earlier. We have to be careful about who we're bouncing our dreams off of, because sometimes people will be our greatest discouragement. And so my word of advice is be wise about who you pick as your counselors. And there are some people that are very negative, and they will just put the proverbial wet blanket on your fire. And yet I seek out people who will say, Pastor Billy, that's a great idea. And, to pick up on a verse from the good book, God is going to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that you could ever think, ask, or imagine. And when we think about dreams, I like to think about the word imagine. That what can we imagine if we follow through practically on this dream? And then how does that affect other people? I love the word inspiration. The word inspiration means God breathed. And so as a pastor, a lot of my inspiration comes from God, obviously. And then I want to infect, in a good way, other people with inspiration, with encouragement, with imagination, and just ask them to sit down as they sit in my office and well, let's just think through. Let's just sit down for 5 minutes. And what do you want to do with your life? You know, what are your dreams? What are your greatest imaginations? And I find, and I'll conclude with this, I find when people begin to think about their imaginations and their dreams, and that God is going to work in the midst of that, that they get very inspired and they say, wow, maybe I could do that. So back to whoever else wants to respond.
Well, I like the things that you were saying, Pastor Billy. And I think that also part of the way to get ourselves in practice, and this is also a response to what you were saying, Jeanne, is to play more, is to give yourself downtime. That when we work all the time, we don't allow that creative aspect of ourselves to percolate up, because you actually need downtime in order for that creativity to blossom. And playtime, Jeanne, you were talking about how you used to do wild things when you were a child. Well, what if you do things once in a while that are childlike to help stimulate and get that particular flow flowing again, to get it jump started?
Yeah, and if I could jump in quickly and just say, that's why another verse from the good book is that our faith is supposed to be childlike. We're supposed to have a childlike faith. And so, yeah, I just put in the chat function, Dr. Michele, play more for creativity to blossom. So
absolutely.
There you go. That's a quotable quote from you.
Yeah, thank you. And one other thing I wanted to say was reward yourself. Celebrate your successes. I think that's one of the things that we often forget about, because maybe, I don't know, we're too bashful, or we don't want to be too full of ourselves. But actually, when you think of yourself as residing in this human body, it functions much better when we acknowledge its successes, that we literally train it to have more successes when we reward ourselves.
I found this really interesting, Dr. Michele. So because of that, I want to ask all of you a question. What did you do? What did you achieve in 2021 that today you should be rewarding yourself, that you should be grateful for?
Good question.
Let's start with Pastor Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked the question, what did you do? Because of what Dr. Michele was talking about rewarding yourself. You should reward yourself with everything that you achieve in life. So in 2021, the previous year, what did you achieve? What did you do that you should be rewarding yourself today, that you should be grateful for?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I did. I started my own show on Zoom called Healers Connection. And I show that show live twice a month. And I get healers and different kinds of people who talk about their particular brilliance from all over the place. And I'm booked all the way through April. I've been booked through April for a long time. I'm actually doubling people up. And I feel really uplifted every time I have that. And the other thing I accomplished, oh my God, last night. So I'm part of Toastmasters, and I'm running a speechcraft in one of the Toastmasters clubs. And last night we did a speechcraft in which each one of the speechcrafters was taking a different role. And it was amazing. I can't tell you how gratifying it is to see your proteges succeed.
Yeah, I love Toastmasters, and great work, Dr. Michele. And for me, last month, it was buying an orphanage in Makurdi, Nigeria, to save 54 little kids from being street kids from being evicted and sent back into the streets. And I had no idea that was going to happen. September 1, I was sitting with the director and this little orphanage that nobody knows about, that's forgotten. And I said, how can I help you? I was brought there by a local elected official there in Benue State, Makurdi, Nigeria. And she looked at me and she said, Pastor, we're getting evicted. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, in 30 days, the landlord, he doesn't want to rent to us anymore. And he wants the money from the sale of these buildings. I said, well, what are you going to do? And she said, well, the 54 children will be returned to the streets where I've been getting them from over 9 years. And this is one of those selfless Nigerian people, this young woman, she's 38 years old. She's been there 9 years, and she sleeps on a mattress on the floor of her office by an open window. So she said to me, if any of the children cry out in the middle of the night, I can go and serve them and minister to them and pray with them. I was like, what? So she said, yeah, we're getting evicted. And I said, well, how much does the owner want for the orphanage? And she said, she gave me the amount, 30,000. I said, I'm going to buy your orphanage. I came back to the US, raised 30,000, and last month sat with the owner and his lawyer. They had a clean title and bought an orphanage. And I took the deed and I said to Sister Favor, I said, here's the deed to the orphanage. I don't want it. It's all yours, and you'll never have to worry about rent again. So that was a dream that I had when she told me it. And then within 30 seconds, I said, well, let's buy the orphanage. My Nigerian team leader thought I was a little crazy, but that's okay. Sometimes dreams are pretty crazy, right, Alex?
So,
Yes,
so
exactly.
Pastor Billy, what did you do to celebrate?
Oh yeah, that's what did I do to celebrate? I was surrounded by 54 children jumping up and down. And when we went back to when I went back last month to celebrate and to do all the legal stuff you need when you buy a property, the reward was having an international film crew with us for 2 days to interview the children, interview the director's Sister Favor, interview some of the board members. And that was really my reward. It's in production right now, and it's going to be sent out through the Christian Broadcasting Network sometime this month. So thanks for asking, Dr. Michele. Yeah, that was a great reward. That story in a forgotten place in Africa is now going to be exported around the world.
And that is so wonderful and so beautiful. Thank you. Alex, what did you get
Well,
in 2021?
Well, in 2021, I passed the entrance exam to join university. I had been trying for 2 years since 2019. And then one day I was in my room, in my hometown. I was like almost crying. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old and I'm not at university. And many people say, you don't have to go to university to achieve your dreams. Each person is different. Each person will go in their own journey. So, and then I got accepted in August. And in August, I came to this new city, very far away from my family. And then in the first month, I was very kind of sad because I was away from my family, but praying to God. And I prayed to God, please help me. I want to be here. I want to continue to be here, study, and help me to be happy and courageous as well. Be persistent. Even though, one of the things that I know for sure, because of my friends that have lots of experience in life, they say, if you want to achieve a dream, you're going to have difficulties on the way. So in order to achieve your dream, you've got to face the difficulties with courage, right? So yes, thank you.
And Jeanne?
Last year, I realized that I've spent a lot of time and a lot of my efforts in my career coaching people. So I worked at it and I became a certified personal coach. And I'm now I can say, not only do I have all this experience and I can do this, I went and got my certification. And how did I reward myself, Alex? I actually did something very, very achievable. I went to my son's house and played with my grandkids for the day without worrying about anything. And one of the beauties about doing that is I learn so much when I'm with my grandkids, because I'm seeing life through their eyes. And getting on the ground and crawling around with my 6-month-old as she's learning to crawl and learning to explore is amazing. And watching my 2-year-old grandson jump up and down. He loves to jump up and down. So obviously I got him a trampoline for Christmas, because he needs to be able to get that energy going. And that reminds me of the parts of me that I want to bring back out. And that's why it's a celebration. And I have older grandkids. I call them my bonus grandchildren, because they came, with my son's new relationship. And they're 6 and 10, and sitting down with them and teaching them something new. I've been working with them on how to draw, and how to do art, because they're really good on the screens, but they know that at Nana's house they get an hour on the screen and then we read a book, and now we're learning to draw, and that gets me back into art. So to me, that's a celebration to have time with those kids.
So should we refer to you as Coach Jeanne now? Coach. We'll just call you a coach.
There you go. Well, and interestingly, when I had a staff of 15, that's what I used to tell them. They would not want to bring me problems, and I'd say, "Who am I?" And they'd go, "Well, you're my boss." No. Who am I? And I kept going until they got to, you kind of coach me. And I went, exactly. And then I used the Giants, the San Francisco Giants team. I'm Bruce Bochy, the coach, and you're Madison Bumgardner, the pitcher. If you broke your arm, do you tell me or not? And they go, "Well, of course." So I taught them that they needed to tell me things so that I could help them work through it, versus wait till the end and surprise me with a crisis. And that changed how we worked together so dramatically that we became a much tighter, more cohesive team. And that's what I want to bring when in my coaching, is helping people identify those things that cause them to stop, so that we can move through it. One of the things I used to do a lot was coach executive teams through crises. And because I was a communications coach in my corporate world, how do you handle a crisis so that it doesn't affect your business? Well, how you handle issues every day. That's what I want to bring to my coaching practice. How you handle issues every day so that you can blossom.
Yeah, we all need to be dream coaches. That's the thought I had when you said that. Dream coaches. Let's be dream coaches. All right, Carla, I know you got a word for us.
I do have a word, and I think the idea of being a dream coach is a great idea, because if we can just coach people to dream and to dream for what they really want to be, that's going to change the world incredibly. And having said that, I don't know if you guys realize we have been talking for over an hour. The MindPlore with Carla and Friends show has been going on. I hope people are finding it on YouTube now. I will be making that announcement very often in the next few weeks, so people hear. But if you are here and you're watching, please let your friends know about it. And also let your friends know about our raffle. If you donate anything over $5, you are put in a hat that will stay in the hat until you win to get a 30-minute session with me. And for those who may not need to learn English, it may just be an interview with me for 30 minutes. We'll figure it out then. But in any case, quickly, let's go around one line a person about what you got from the show today. Starting with Pastor Billy.
I want to be a dream coach. Bang.
Okay. And you are the one with the 3 B's. Be brief, be prompt, be brief, and be something else.
Be brief, be blunt, and be gone, which I got to be gone now.
Okay. Bye, Pastor Billy. Michele, Dr. Michele, very quickly.
Well, I loved what you said about we are all enlightened. We just don't know it. And so we don't have to have that as a goal, except in order to live our enlightenment and have that be integrated into our being in this world.
Right. Alex, stop looking at your desk or whatever you're looking at and look at us, and you have 1 minute to say something.
Well, I'm just so happy to be here with all of you. And one thing that I've learned today is to be consistent with what we dream about. You know, be consistent. 2021, 2022, in whatever year we are in, you know, just be consistent.
And you could also think of it as you're on a destiny, and we're all on a path. And in order to get there, we need to know where we're going. But we need to take the steps, the baby steps to get to that. Jeanne?
I like the reminder to be like a child, to see the world like a child, and then become more imaginative. I think that's going to be very useful.
You know, Jeanne, I think we're already there. We just had forgotten because we allowed the stress of everyday life, which really is not real, but we've made it our reality, to be our reality. And if we would only go back to our real reality, then we will be more imaginative. It's there. We've just forgotten it.
Carla, it's a lot like flipping, you know, where I talk about the negative and the positive, that you flip it. Well, you do the same thing. You know, you forget, and then you need to flip back into that other place where you're not stressed or you're not worried.
It's the flip of the coin. Each coin has the negative and the positive. What do you want to look at? The negative or what you really want? You look at the negative, that lasts. If you look at the positive, then that grows in our lives. And with that, we will be back. Jeannie and I will be back on Thursday with 2 other people. Neville said he's coming, but he has been disappointing me 2 weeks in a row. So I'm being careful about trusting that. But hopefully Neville will be here, and we will have one other awesome guest. And please, if you have a moment, look at my Patreon page. Donations would be very welcome, but it's no push. And remember our YouTube link. So we're going to sign off now and wave goodbye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.